Hi, my name is Tang. I'm a psychology PhD student at Arizona State University. I'm in the Macbeth Lab, also called the Pro Lab, also known as the Mad Scientist Lab. And my research that I'm about to talk about is partially funded by GSI, the Global Sports Institute. So the project that I'm working on, that we're just finishing up the writing on, was originally from a discussion about basketball, and in particular we were thinking about jump balls. So in a jump ball situation, two players have to jump and hit the ball toward their teams. And occasionally you have these times that they both seem to hit at the same time, the ball goes off to the side, and there's usually an argument that ensues about who touched it, who hit it out. And this happens in a lot of other situations too. So this happens in basketball, but also in soccer, when two people kick the ball and the ball goes out and you have to make a judgment call on who gets the ball. And so it's natural to kind of assume that both players are just lying so that they'll get the point, or they'll get the ball. But we were wondering if there's any possibility that actually both players really do think that they hit it first. The way that we set up the experiment was we had two people sit across from the table and they had a light that they were looking at. And basically it would flash, and they were instructed to touch the other person's hand when the light flashed. And we had sensors to record when these touches happen, and then afterward we had them make something called a temporal order judgment, which is basically just a judgment of I touched first or they touched first. And so the judgments were made anonymously, so they couldn't influence each other, they weren't talking to each other. And we found that there's a systematic bias for people to report that they touched first, even when the touches were simultaneous. So it's interesting because this happened for people who are really confident about their judgments and for people who basically weren't sure. A lot of people, when doing this experiment, because it's such small margins, they actually don't have clear temporal resolution to say for certain I touched first or they touched first. But over 50 trials you can still see the systematic bias that they think that they were earlier. And so the actual result was about 70% of the time at a simultaneous touch, people thought that they touched first. And even when there was an offset of 50 milliseconds, that's when they perceived it as simultaneous. So if the other person touched their hand and then they touched the other person 50 milliseconds afterward, they would still think that that happened at the same time. So the implications for our research is that it does appear that there's this systematic bias for people to think that events that they cause happen first. And you can imagine that in sports situations, this would create a lot of arguments and a lot of disagreements about what actually happened. This research kind of builds on previous research that has come from the lab showing that perspectives are really important in understanding the world, and how a different vantage point can really give you a different perception of what's happening.